that is what makes the Wartime a Wartime.
Yeah.
That's it. Look at the way it's built. All that. Look at that there. From down here, I show you. You see that there?
Yes.
Look at the pieces. Bits and pieces. And tied with sugar and stuff.
Yeah. My God. Yeah.
And when they had all that done, they had to get whitewash. And whitewash the whole inside.
I'm here in Ardmhuire, Cashel with a great friend of mine, Albert Carrie, and we're just going to do another little one of the interviews. I suppose, Albert, first and foremost, when and where were you born?
I was born in Cashel Street, 39 Cashel Street, on the 8th of January 1944. And I was the third last child in a family of 12. There were 6 boys and 6 girls in the family, and all the girls are still living and in fairly good old nick, as they say, but unfortunately 3 of the boys are dead, and there's Jer and myself, and then the only 3 boys left, but all the girls, as I said, are still standing and that, and fairly hale and hearty. My mother was a Ballingarry woman, and she came down to Cashel, and she worked in the infirmary in Cashel. Now the infirmary, as you know, was a hospital before Our Lady's Hospital was built. That's where it stood, and on the site of what is now Our Lady's Hospital, Cashel, and she worked there for a number of years. And my father, Mikey Carrie, and that's a very, very old Cashel family, and he lived over right there, and he was an only son, and my mother was a fine, elegant woman, and that, and he threw the Zimmer on her anyway, and the rest is history, as they say. You know, I suppose the old times were tough, like rearing a family at 12 had to be hard work and that, but the only thing about it was it made people industrious, like, you know, we had a big garden which we tilled from the back door, you could say, up to the ditch at Damerty's, and that was a big plot. And that was our chores when we got home from school and that, you know, and we always kept greyhounds and dogs and washing out from them and walking them and training them and that, with little enough success at times too, I might as well tell you, and that, but I suppose, you know, it was par for the course at that time. Everybody else was doing much the same. And of course, kept a few pigs then as well and fattened them, and I suppose that supplemented the income some little bit and helped with the rearing of the flock and that. And most houses at that particular time, we say, they either kept a few chickens. You'd get day old chicks at the time, and they'd come in the bus. You go down to the bus and you'd bring them home in a smart little box and you'd rear them up. Now, lots of houses at that time reared them, and it happened then when they grow up, they'd go into pullets, and you had the egg and you had the hen, and eventually you start killing them off, we say, you know, and boil them and
people were very self-sufficient then.
Absolutely, and then they had their own spuds out of the garden, and we say you pissed them then and you had them over the winter, like, you know. They were entrepreneurial enough, like with the fattening of an old pig and that, you know, you buy the few bonnets, and of course having a family of 12 in a big garden, it was easy enough to feed the pig then, because you could feed them off of the spuds and the small spuds, as they say at the time, and that. And the mothers then did the world of the bacon, so be the bacon and the bread now.
Yes.
That that as distinct from the hairy bacon you were talking about, and the cabbage.
Yeah.
And that, but there was a lot of that too,
Yeah.
because they did kill the pigs too, and they hung it up and salted it, put it in a stand. They had the bacon at that time, they were self-sufficient in an awful lot of the things they did.
Yeah.
But grew up then, went to school in the National School in the Green. Miss Egan was my first teacher, and my father actually, who was born in 1901, he went to the National School down there as well, the same school as I went to. And Miss Egan was my first teacher, and she taught us for 2 years. We were babies and high infants, and then went from that into Mr. Knightley in first class, and Mr. Knightley got us ready for First Holy Communion and taught us the reading and writing, and that brought it on to another level. And he prepared us for second class then, which was Mr. Egan's, and that, and he got us ready for confirmation and that. And we went from that then down to the Christian Brothers. Started 3rd class, 4th class, 5th class and 6th class, and then to the secondary school after that. And of course that brought in different things to play, because when you went to the Christian Brothers, they had little hurling teams, and we had leagues and between ourselves, and then we had the inter-schools competitions, and we were in all them and had, successes and failures and all them like everything else. And they used to have great little bands there that taught a bit of music, the Tin Whistle, Brother Nolan and that, he was synonymous with music in the town, and they said that he was before his time, for teaching music and that. But that was it basically.
What age did you leave school yourself, Albert?
I left school at about, let's say, 17.
Okay.
And that, and
you
went to work then, which you always had a job, you see. And you started off basically by always doing messages for somebody. And Tom Handley's was a great starting point for an awful lot, including your own Uncle Pa, and that he would have been...
Where was Tom Handley?
Tom Handley lived in the little thatch house now on your way up to Dorland Field.
Okay.
The Bohan score today, that was Tom Handley's cottage, and that. And Tom Handley went to the First World War with my grandfather, and Tom lost his leg in the First World War, and my grandfather was killed in it, as I know you know. The Battle of Mons was a retreat from Mons. There were 7 battles between that and the time he got killed, but they were retreating because they were up against far superior forces, and he was on the expeditionary force. They were the first troops into battle there, and they had to hold the line until we said the Allies started to
So he had fought in a good few battles before that, had he?
7 of them.
7
battles
battles
before he was killed, and he was killed on the 19th of October 1914, and that, they were there 3 months at the time, and that'll tell you.
And was he buried out there then, Albert? Was he?
He had no known grave, they were blown up, that they came under terrible shell fire, and a few people from Cashel, colleagues of these, and the same battalions, and they all lost their lives and had no known grave. He had no known grave. There was a wire by in the post office, and after that then was had a post, and Mick Davy was the postmaster at the time, and like worked with all they'd have been household names like Eddie Ryan, that better known as the Gander, and Peter Mungy. They'd have been the Clarks, and Hugh Clancy, of course, lovely fella and lovely character. And then Timmy Hennessy came in, and oh Jesus, Timmy was a man now in the same mould as yourself. He was a droll character, and that, and was much loved by all the clientele going in there, like, you know, he was a character. And that Biddy Boland used to do the few jobs, and I ended up on the phones there then for a while, you know. I was on the phones for a while, and I had a post with it.
When you were 19, you ended up having to go to England work.
I did. Well, my sister Mary still with us, and back home now, and in Acorn Lodge, we say she, you know, a bit of Alzheimer's and that, and her husband was killed. They were only married a few years, and they just bought a new house, and they had no family, and he was working in the post office in England, and he was crossing the road going back to work after lunch, himself and a chap from Clare, in Muswell Hill in North London, and they were going across. A lorry that was parked up at the top of Muswell Hill, the handbrake went in it, and it came careering down the hill, and it swept the two of them away. It killed the two of them, and that, and brought him home anyway to be buried. And of course she had no one then, and she was young, and I was young, but my father said that I'd have to go back with her. And when the father spoke that time, there was no question about it, when you list your soldier, and up sticks, and had to go back with Mary to England. I went back there, and I joined the post office in England too, and said that for a couple of years.
Big change to life in London.
Oh, stop for, we say, somebody that came out of a rural enough little area, like, you know, and to go into what would have been the metropolis of London, like, you know, you couldn't envisage it, like, you know, it was monstrous, and like getting home, you think it'd be a chore, but like everything else, like, you make your way after a while, and enough now, I'd have to say. Yeah. Like, I was lost there because, you know, I was into the old games and things like that, and you went there, like, you know, and it was a dour kind of a situation to be in, where somebody had lost somebody that was near and dear to him, and she was young with it then, and you know, you're making the best of a bad mark, yeah. Like, you know. But I had other family over there, and I suppose when you went to visit them of a weekend, it kind of lifted the old spirits, and we got on with it.
Yeah.
The first chance I got then, I came home. I came home in 1966. Got back then, got into the old hurling straight away after coming back, but I'd missed out on all the under 21s and things like that.
They were tougher times, hurling.
They were, and they were more difficult times at the hurling too, because I tell you, and to something I suppose that people don't want to be dwelling too much in, because you see there was terrible old splits in the town at that particular time, and there was two clubs in the town. you had the Crokes and you had the King Cormacs and that, like, you know, and it was a difficult old time, you know, and had they been together, the calibre of the players they had, and I'm not just saying that now because it happens to be a fact, they would have won a lot. They definitely would have won a lot, like, you know. The other crowd, they were doing well and we were doing well. You know,
what could have been if the two of
them
What
could have been. The break came in 62 anyway, but of course there was always people trying to work to get it fixed up, but you know, that like everything else, like a bit like politics, like, you know, you get some of them would be difficult and they find it hard to bring them together and things like that, and the priest tried, and you know, there was an awful lot of terrible well-meaning people there, but eventually I suppose they saw the wisdom that would be in unifying the clubs again.
I suppose into the 70s then, under your own brother Manto, the lad
he would have been a big old influence in getting them back, because the players like had an old graph on, like, you know, and he was their spiritual kind of a leader at the time, and that, and you know, they were terrible high achievers at that time. They would win the doubles, like, in the minors and things like that, and sure, his death came then, it was in 1973, and you know, that in itself, because my father was sick for a few years before that. He had cancer at the liver, and it was very, very terrible, painful death, and of course the whole injections that they had for pain and things like that, they weren't up to par at the time, so you had to bear a lot of it. And we were there with him, myself and Manto. We'd say I'd be trying to get the post done to get home to give the old hand out with him, but we'd say my father died then in 72, and Manto got killed the year after then, you know, tragic out circumstances, going to a match, and a lot of mercy on the crater, you know. It was, we were all gutted.
Left a very black hole over Cashel, I believe, for a long time.
Imagine, we said the family, the way we were, you know, we were heartbroken now. '75, and my second brother Malone spearheaded that, and I was kind of in charge of the labour force there at the time. Well, the volume of men that came down there were the best that Ireland ever saw. We put in a sewerage there, connected it, got the site off of the council and built that place all in less than 6 months. Raised that, roofed it, toilets, showers, polished out and opened in less than 6 months.
Of course.
Fantastic men. I couldn't praise them enough for what they did. But it was a labour of love for them. The neighbours were involved in it, with tea and filling barrels with water and electricity, because we didn't have any connection until near the end to have the lights fitted into it, like a terrible modern court and that. But they were wonderful people, like, you know, and they were all drawn from the neighbourhood around, like, that was the nice thing about it, and the camaraderie that was there. And they went on sure to be one of the best clubs that was ever in Ireland. They're very, very
and most of them from around the block, as we used to call it as kids.
Absolutely, so there are more All-Ireland medals there now, and that, like, you know, every house around there could boast a few, couldn't they? Of course, when we started the Heritage Society and we got into the historical end of things and trying to do Martin the Wire and myself, and a lot of the lads around then, we put the Heritage Society together, but we started accumulating and gathering, we say, the bits and pieces of history in all aspects of Cashel. Like, you know, that was the key thing. And we got a lot of these bits and pieces, and we had to buy something, like, you know, because people weren't inclined to give them, and needless to say, money was tight at the time.
I suppose a lot of that stuff would have been kept in the Bahan then, is it? And into
We
the
had
folk village,
an awful lot of it. The Bahan, you see, was a 17th century peasant dwelling. Like, you know, that have been very, very poor people that lived in it. And the Handleys, I suppose, they were the latter end of the thing into the 20th century. They lived, and they would have been a prosperous enough family. But we said that they were a big family too, and that was a small house. But you see, they had other accommodation across the road from it, and that's where they'd sleeping accommodation.
You give a spell living there yourself?
I did, yeah, for a couple of years there and that before I
Hardy
moved down here, yeah, as the fella says. And Mrs. Handley, the thing about it was, this is now, we say, when we were doing the history of the town, myself and Martin, and picking up the bits and pieces. You see, at that time, people weren't in the habit of running for doctors and nurses all the time that they had a pain or an ache. They were able to cure them themselves, because an awful lot of them had cures. And Mrs. Handley, that lived in the Bahan at that time, Tom Handley's mother, her name was Mag Ward, that was her maiden name. She had a cure for tetanus, and they come from the tetanus, from the tucker mills to her for the cure. And 'twas an ointment she was able to make up. And they'd have a little cardboard box at the time, the equivalent of a matchbox, and they'd fill it up with this ointment and give it to her, and you'd apply. You see, tetanus were prevalent at that particular time because they were taken from cows, and anybody that was working with farmers and milking cows and that, you see, the cow could be carrying a tetanus. It was a kind of a sore now for a ringworm thing, and that, a terrible unsightly thing. But because Mag's ointment anyway would do the trick. Sure, like he was before his time. Martin was an inspirational figure. Like, you know, he was a leader in every sense, and his mind never rested. He was all the time, he was a Cashel man to the core, and everything that was good about it, he wanted to write about it, and he did. He brought out 8 books, like, you know, and tried to cover every aspect of the thing, the folklore, the real history of Cashel. And I think he was a very high achiever, and that, and God help us, unfortunately we lost him lately, and as they say in Irish, ní éca míle le hé down a ríis, we won't see his likes around. His folk village is a shrine to himself.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, because not alone did he open that, and money was very, very frugal at the time and scarce. And there was a few pound that his late brother Jim Joe left him when he died, that bought it for him. And then to deck it out and to put the memorabilia into it that he did. But he had a great rapport with people. He had a charisma all of his own, and that. And his testimony to the vision that Martin had, that's here in Cashel. His son-in-law Bernard Minogue and his daughter Tracy are running it now. Wonderful to have that in the town of Cashel.
Yeah.
And it's well worth the trip for anybody that maybe haven't seen it yet. We'd have to put on the tape, Mark, is the people, we say, that died during the famine years. And they were buried abroad in St. Mark's. He put 1,000 names on stones. There's one wall, it's like a commemoration, a garden of remembrance. And 1,000 names of a lot of destitute children that died within the realms of the workhouse as it was at that particular time, and the county home afterwards, and that. And he got down ledgers, he went through them, and he thought something had to be done about that. And to go out there and to see that, that's the work of that man. And so he thought about everybody. He thought about everything. The good days and the bad days. We spoke about some of the good days with the hurling in 91 and the Munster Championship that they won that year, and that high point. But those low points in the history and the folklore of Cashel. He thought about all those people, like, you know.
I believe they're making, are they putting up a cross in honour of Martin out there? Are they making a cross?
Well, tis a cross that was donated by a friend of his, and they're at it as we speak.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of carving for, you know, obviously the figure of Christ have to be carved out of it. And it means hewn out the figure out of. It's a mammoth task, you know, because there's a big cross, and I suppose that there'll be a plaque on that to commemorate what Martin had done for that area.
No, look, Albert, we could
go on
talk
all night and
I tell you, we definitely will do part 2 of this sometime.
Of course we'll get back to it.
Absolutely, but I really appreciate it, Albert. And thanks very much.
It's a labour of love, Mark. And
good stuff. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. I know my phone is ringing. The dinner must be ready. So
God, you better.
That's very important too.
Yeah, when you list your soldier.
That's it.
And,
thanks very much, Albert.
You're welcome, Mark, indeed.